Looking ahead to the key events and themes this week, let's start off with the euro. We do have the ECB rate decision where I expected to keep policy and rates unchanged for the time being. Focus will switch over to Draghi's press conference where analysts are actually expecting for him to try and talk down the euro as he wouldn't want too much appetite into the euro currency for the time being. He wants to keep markets stable, not spook them for the moment until he starts to see a pickup in his economic conditions that he's targeting. Specifically, I'm talking about inflation, for that to pick up heading into September, where expectations are for them to announce a tapering of their QE or start that at the Jackson Hole meeting. So do bear that in mind. However, if the banks are right and they see him trying to talk down the euro, I think the euro is going to remain resilient and strong because markets are expecting this. They know it's a typical practice of Draghi to try and talk down the euro. So I think it will shrug that off and continue to remain firm across the board. In my view, personally looking for him to retain that slight change in tone that we've seen recently, upbeat in terms of the economic conditions on the outlook for recovery for the Eurozone bloc, and also to see inflation picking up in the near term. So nevertheless, seeing euro stronger there. Looking over in Asia, respective central bank, the Bank of Japan, now they also have their rate decision where they're expected to keep all policy unchanged. As we know, they've been suffering with incredibly low inflation for quite some time, or deflation as a matter of fact. So they're actually expected to cut their inflation outlook once again. They're failing to achieve their 2% price target goal. With that being the case of the central bank not being able to control and get a grasp of price stability in their country, it just means that the Japanese yen will continue to strengthen across the board. Typically, if one's respective central bank is dovish and ultra easy in terms of policy, we see the respective currency weakening, but that's not the case for the Japanese yen due to the failure from the Bank of Japan there. So expect the yen to continue to strengthen over the coming months or so. Looking over in the UK then, we do have very key data, CPI, and that's expected to remain elevated at 2.9%. We have seen previous members noting that they do expect inflation creeping above the 3% mark this year, and there are mounting pressures now for the Bank of England to take action and try and cool inflation before it gets out of control, even though many economic conditions do not warrant that hike at the moment, but they might need to try and bring down inflation. As I said before, it causes some serious issues for the economy. As we saw at the last rate decision, it's getting ever closer in terms of the split, 5-3. So 5 wanted to keep rates unchanged, where 3 were voting for that hike. So we did see some pound strength across the board on the back of that meeting. So do keep that in mind. If it remains elevated at 2.9 or even creeps higher, expect some pound strength across the board, a large amount, and there will be mounting expectations for a hike from the Bank of England as early as August. Lastly then, looking at the US dollar, as we saw, it did take a beating across the board on Friday after lower CPI. There was signs of deflation in certain categories of prices, lower retail sales, contraction in consumer spending. It has been the case for the last 5 months now. So continuing to weigh down on CPI as well, people not spending to help prop up the prices. So technically, just looking at the dollar index, the Dixie, it does technically looks vulnerable to some further downside, which could only mean it's the dollar counterparts being very well supported and holding some ground against the greenback. So other than that, that's it from me. Have a smashing trading week and thank you.